Is coming for the first time to the living room? Oh, okay. All right.
Keep your hands up because you're all gonna get a prize!
So, another quick question I want to ask, as Kevin is another quick question I want to ask is, whose New Year resolution was to like do more, go to more events, you know, continue? Okay, that's, so everybody's just here because they're here for the party. I love it. We're here for the party. So, quick things about the living room. First off, this is Kevin Dublin. I'm Giovanna Lomanto. And we are a reading series and salon based right here in Syzygy Co-op. Claps for Syzygy. Syzygy Co-op is an artist co-op, which means that all of this amazing space that you see here could also be yours, kind of. And if you want to find out more, if you want to donate to Syzygy for letting us have this wonderful space, there's QR codes posted all around, and you can just QR, Venmo. I think there's also maybe a PayPal that might happen somewhere.
Yes, it's great.
Exactly, yes! We love to see the support. So, really quickly, you're probably like, okay, reading series, I understand. There's going to be readings. This is a series. It happens every month. Poetry. And you're like, wait, salon? Who's getting their hair done today? No. So the salon is actually a big question that we ask you, that we want you to discuss and talk to everybody around here about. Because this is a community event, and we want to support the building of community. Yes.
Yeah, just a few like sort of like norms around the space. So we're going to talk about that, that question. It's going to come up. There's going to be an intermission. We're going to have two poets. Then we're going to have an intermission. We talk about the question. The question is around the theme of renewal. Let that sink in. We're going to come back to it. Talk about what renewal means to you. And then we'll have two more poets. And when you go to a poetry reading, right? And you hear things that you like or that you enjoy or that speak to your soul, what do you do? Yeah, you can snap. You can give like a little like James. Just like you can maybe you bit into some chocolate cake. Just whatever feels good to you. And also keep in mind that, with poetry, with any kind of writing, with any kind of art, the artists are putting themselves into their work. It may not necessarily be about them, but they can go to vulnerable spaces. And so we want to respect that. And, if there's anything, just a kind of general trigger warning, if there's anything which also kind of touches you and you need a moment, feel free to take that space, go out, want to respect the writers and keep side conversations to the intermission or afterwards, and just generally support. And
speaking of supporting, really quickly, we have two quick announcements. One of them is that the book swap is happening back there. There's a ton of books, and usually it's if you bring a book, you get to bring one home. But I think that a lot of us were really generous today and brought several books, so I think that if you're here, you're welcome to take a book if it calls to you. Feel free to, this was a chance for a lot of us to purge our libraries, and this is a chance for some of us to also build our libraries back after purging them. And in addition to building your libraries back, some of our readers have some books available up here. And so if you talk to the readers, either in the intermission or in the very end of the reading, you'll be able to directly pay them for their books and take a copy of this wonderful memento of your night here. So, without further ado,
You were in France. France, you know?
I was in France.
It's like that.
No, I was in France. S'il vous plaît, un croissant. Thank you, thank you. I really worked hard for that one. Trust me, I said it every day. But without further ado, let's introduce our first poet of the night. So, out of our lovely, lovely lineup, the first poet tonight is the one, the only, K.R. Morrison. And when asked the question, what does renewal mean to you, and why is it important, K.R. responded by saying, to me, renewal is to submerge in the process of shadow work, shedding, and manifesting in the life, death, rebirth process within which all living things cyclically undergo. Renewal means a daily practice of healing our inner child, of stripping this system from our nervous systems, and meeting our higher selves in a community that heals others. Renewal means we die in some kind of way every day. And if you're interested in that, she's got a little chapbook available right here. It's called Cauldrons, and it was published by Paper Press Books. Recently, her words were published in an anthology of California post-beat poets, Beat Not Beat, co-edited by Alexis Roan Fancher, S.A. Griffin, and Kim Shuck. So please feel free to give it up for K.R.
I'm so happy to be here, and this crowd is just wicked. And usually, you get pictures as a poet. Can I take a picture of you?
Yeah.
So this is wow, there's a lot of people here. So everybody say hi, whatever you want to do.
Yay!
Woo! Oh wow, wait. Thank you. Okay, bye. No, I'm kidding. My book is over here, if you'd like a copy. It's called Cauldron. I'm going to start with a poem I wrote after I'm a high school teacher. Very hard week at school, talking kids off the ledge, and that same week I got dumped, and then I watched Thelma and Louise. And I wrote this. It's called Her Burden. In 1 week, a woman can grow life. Shoot a rapist, bleed out the last word while he leaks red hell on car fenders she waxes when she isn't waning. In 1 week, a woman can talk tears off suicidal bridges while she bridges words to new days dressed in smiles. Preparing breakfast mixed with messages, self-discovery over easy, pancakes that make pain too pass. In 1 week, a woman can become an armed robber, or she can nurse bottles and beers and in the same week bring freedom to kids she never raised but carries. While vacuuming others' mess, a woman can write a poem on hallways she architects inside her head that always she revises. Surveillances. She can burn down the world with flammable honesty, then discover fire extinguishers while men cough, choke, drop for cover. Try to bring some poems around renewal. This is a very fresh one, so it doesn't have a title yet.
You should.
I used to carry with me a suitcase stained with his blood. Probably should get the trigger one. It was hard to open. His heart scraps jammed in the hinges. Regret stuck to the underwear compartment, all deliciously gritty. While tattooed and bruised disappointment sang drunk serenades to Ardor, that tall red-headed firebird who taught him one hell of a lesson while jailbreaking from the things I carried. Packed next to my courage was where I found the nomad who nearly killed me. With my .38 special in his hand, he would wait there for me, neatly folded like a forgotten poem, like a sock that lost its other half, folded above integrity which still had a price tag attached to its inseam. Both of them would laugh about my family's death threats if he were to ever return. For years, I journeyed with that bloody suitcase when in the transition. These necessities and fists for the tyrants to raid and nomads to borrow if they needed a little shadow. A full wolf moon in tow, hungry to be shed. A traveler's oracle full of ignition to evict more boring baggage than burdens from cargo that forsakes the innocence of a nest. My baggage is lighter these days. One of those little turtle shell looking boxes with the wheels made of ice skates. I threw out some clutter obtained throughout the map's lover's muddle. During Samhain season, I burned pants weaved of ego into the fire. Added dresses stained by fear in the armpits. When I unlock the buckles, there's more room for me to find her. That little girl who now runs and plays when the zipper shuts. In the dark, she no longer screams and hides. It's been challenging for anyone who identifies as women, and I am just so grateful for, we all have feminine energy, not just people who identify as women, So I just want to shout out to everyone in the room who identifies as male that supports women through this year and what's going on and the threats to our rights, to our bodies, and that's what's inspired this one. It's called The Hourglass. I found a pile of women trapped in an hourglass covered in man prints. Down they tumble into an abyss of bickering with other capital. Battling the same oppressor, countless grains of lunacy made of moon mud. Scarlet from too many laws, 245 years of collateral blood. I found a pile of women trapped in an hourglass covered in his conquests. Choking down the other direction, a greasy glass tunnel lined in nails, dead witches, decapitated freedom fighters, revolutionary stuffed with lies and bullets. Down into a red, white, and blue whirlpool they go, met by fire torches and nooses, swinging in sour winds. To create breath, to conjure release, the pile of women laced their fingers into the calloused hands of whipped and tired men. Down from southern branches now hung next to him her uterus and tangles of snakes from her fire-seething head. I found a pile of women trapped in an hourglass covered in him, his man prints. Time is up. There's no more land to waste, Gaia says. Master changes his tools and tactics, but the outcome is still piles of us, lost in our salts, trapped in his man prints. In his hourglass, we are suffocating. Time to see that in our differences, our feet bleed the same. She carries their wounds in a knapsack holding the ocean and a lion cage. Packed with lovers almost had, his grief is the rusty kind that makes kissing different. Makes a strong man notice the weight of a feather sent from the other side. She carries their wounds, a landmine of conversations trapped in their throat. Shoved in her back pocket are unsaid desires. In the side of her boot are apologies her ancestors swallowed instead of said. They smolder hot, stick to her moonskin. She carries their wounds, songs in a hawk's nest that swings in her lungs. Tangled in their rhythms are past and unrealized lives that wardrobe lover voices. Kevin, thank you for having me. I've been a huge living room series fan. Like, I love this series. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's just so well curated, and I'm just really grateful. So thank you for having me. This last one, and it's in bulk. We're coming into in bulk season, which is the coming of spring, and we plant seeds and for them to blossom in the spring. And this is inspired by a Jericho rose called Resurrections. I die all the time. A dark memory erodes into an autumn leaf, crushed into ripe wisdom, blooming instinct. Baby girl's shields dissolve into a thunderstorm, makes intimacy grow. I die into seasons of release. My heart mutes its beats for unending shedding, life and death in a day's phoenix rising. I die all the time. I am a Jericho rose, a talismanic curio, manic in a rotting forest that refuses to let dead things go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. Wonderful. I'm still in that. Oh, that lunacy made of moon blood. The texture is just so wonderful. Again, cauldrons is over there. Oh, cauldrons! I see. All these incantations. I'm here. Wow. So let's get it one more time. Okay. We have some wonderful poetry for you tonight. Gabby Rath. Whoop, whoop. Let's give it up. Who has I love this. This is nothing to do with anything except for you can go follow Gabby, the Gabs of Wrath. Right? When asking Gabby, what is renewal to you and why is it important? Gabby said, renewal is the easeful place we re-enter from after restoration. It is absolutely essential. It is, especially in our overly stimulated world. To me, renewal is to life as stillness is to movement and silence is to sound. I want to say that again because I feel like I was so in it at the moment. I was like, oh, no one can understand me. I'm like.
You're also in France.
I'm also in France. Exactly. We live. I shall taunt you a second time. Renewal is the easeful place we re-enter from after restoration. It is absolutely essential, especially in our overly stimulating world. To me, renewal is to life as stillness is to movement and silence is to sound. Our ability to be renewed creates the fresh space for us to flourish. So wonderful. Let's give it up.
Hi, thanks so much, everyone. I really love the living room series, and it's such an honor to be able to read for you all tonight. So thanks so much. To me, as Kevin kind of mentioned a bit, renewal, especially in the last couple of years, really came from, I think, having a lot of community around me. So I'm going to read a couple poems tonight that talk a lot about San Francisco and just the community I feel like I've found within that. Zuni Cafe, 1988, a setup first date. Her arriving early to wait for him because she couldn't remember what he looked like. Rather, doesn't remember seeing him at all. You see, he claimed they met last fall. A few months before, at a birthday party, he'd stared across the room in awe, it's starting. Back when she was still with an ex-fling, but these days she was single, he heard and gave a ring. She sat by the bar sat at the bar early by the door so that when he'd walk in, he'd see me first. That was my plan. I was worried I wouldn't recognize him. Till an adorable man stumbled in early too. I remember thinking, wow, that guy is cute. I wish it was with him. Then the man grinned. It amazes me how so many moments I'll never see are what also make up me. That life can be traced to subliminal space, such as the place where the possibility of me began. How aligned this all seems. Lifelines balanced on fine lines for this exact moment to just be. Defined by some divine draw of luck or coincidence or destiny. How what I call myself, the name I carry over the course of my days that gives me space, was really just placed, bestowed upon me, no counsel of what I think, of who I'm called to be. How you will never truly see yourself, no matter how hard you look, in the mirror, in their eyes, at a glass lake, for it's always just a reflection. This realization takes my breath away, that I was there without me seeing it, that I'm not here without that being it. Trying to observe my inexplicable existence enough to watch it or better it or tether it, but know uncontrollably that I'm combined from so much more than I may ever hold in my mind, more than can be conceptualized. I was told one time, there's no such thing as a new idea. For everything I think and write and read is built on top of eons of human creativity, layering and layering and layering, till we get to me, till I get to be me. My breath beating from the breath of my being a small piece of it all. So I released the resistance to stand solo and tall, like I made it to this exact millisecond on my own, when I wouldn't be standing here now if she didn't pick up the phone. The little story at the beginning is how my parents met, so it's a fun one. My mom's very happy about that. All right, the second one's a little bit more about, I live in North Beach, so it's a little bit more about the neighborhood around there. I fell in love with you that day, but I didn't know it then. The day the random man began to play Star Wars on his accordion at 1 a.m., reverberating down my street and rising me from sleep. I love that he caught the attention of ABC National News in April 2020 that claimed, accordion player comforts people amidst the uncertainty of COVID-19 virus. I loved how I knew he'd been at it for months. I love that I would never think to name his noisy nuisance as comforting. I love that several friends sent me the Insta post praising his emotive aid, where I had been diligently documenting his late night musical escapades. I love that one day, I recalled he hadn't played in a while. I love that not seeing a stranger like this ever again falls, inevitably descends into mystery. I love that I will never know who heard him next or last. I love that I have the phone number of the hole-in-the-wall coffee shop that used to be below me, so I could text them my order like an old friend. Good morning, tall redhead, please be down in 10. I hate that the drinks were named after hair color. Ew. I love that they did jam sessions on Sunday afternoons. I love that they always brought a rug and sometimes brought a pug, and I love that on a random day in June, the scene of seeing an old man goofy groove with a hula hoop made my eyes fog with joy. I loved feeling so full, so allowed to enjoy, in a year that felt so empty, so dreadful and devoid. I love that later I realized, boy, I don't really like their coffee. I love that once the parklets arrived, I had a joke to drop quarters in the parking meters no longer alive to confuse the collectors, an amusing connector. I love that they still check them anyway. I love that across the street stood an art gallery. I cried when I saw it close. The same day I carried away boxes of my donated clothes. I love that months later when I walked by, there was a new open sign. I sighed when I saw every inch of the floors being painted with beautiful designs. I love that turns out it's now a thrift store. I love that the old can be made new, parts reused. I love that peak pandemic, at points when I felt awfully, absurdly alone, I could go sit in Washington Square Park and feel so incredibly close to what I don't know. I love that at night if I cracked my windows just right and was cautiously quiet, I could hear the sea lions riot. I love that I can still remember the smell of pizza that persistently hovered my hall. I love that the memories were turned in pieces, first a few, then them all. I love that when I now walk by and look up through the bay windows that used to be mine, I see paintings hung up where I'd always wished I'd have too. I imagine who lives there, and I wonder what they love about you. I love that months later, one day, a meeting miraculously manifests. I love that the new tenant turns out to be a mutual friend. I love that we laughed in disbelief at the chance, at the destiny penned, and I love that I don't know what's funnier, how small and connected you are, or how naive I am to frequently forget it. But every time I remember, it makes me love you more. I fell in love with my city that day. Come say hi at the breaker after. I'm Gabby. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks. I am so excited because I met Gabby at another poetry reading, and then Gabby was like, wait, I know you from the living room. And then I was like, wait, I know you from Sarah Kay, the next living room. And then it was just like such a wonderful situation in which community really built around poetry, just kind of flourished and flowered. And you know, KR also mentioned that she loves the living room series, which means that she's been here before, which means that if you're interested in reading, we are available for you to chat with. And that's the wonderful thing, is that a lot of times community builds and builds and builds. And as you can tell, it's quite full tonight. And you know what that means? That means that you have more people to talk to in this intermission. Yay! New friends. So, really quickly, we're going to take a quick 10-minute intermission. In that 10-minute intermission, you are welcome to go check out the book swap. If you are in the back already, it looks like you have first access. Congratulations. The book swap is happening all the way in the back. And if you already want to buy KR's book, Cauldrons, you're welcome to come up to the front here. And also, in case you were wondering, Gabby Rath does have a chapbook coming out soon. So follow her at the Gabs of Rath, which actually did have to do with a lot of things, which is funny because we're talking about connectedness. So connect with somebody over this question. What does renewal mean to you? And I'm going to challenge you, because it's poetry, come up with an image, like a specific thing that you can do to like enact renewal in your life in the coming days, in the coming year. So really think about an image of renewal that you really want to see yourself blooming into. See you in 10 minutes.
And remember, talk to someone who you do not know. You have to talk about this with someone who you do not know.
Wow. It's the end of January. However, the fun thing is that a lot of times I'm like, okay, New Year's, I was thinking about the new routines, and sometimes I'm like, wait, what is the Gregorian calendar doing for me? And then you're like, wait, what is the lunar calendar doing for me? And then you're like, wait, what about my birthday? And it's somebody's birthday here today. Woo! That is very right. We should woo and we should clap. You know, the amazing thing is that today is Danielle Truppi's birthday. Danielle, when asked what renewal means to her, said that renewal is a second wind. I was still in France. Okay, we're gonna try it. Renewal is a second wind, a new coat of paint, a pushed back due date. It's an opportunity for something new within the crowded container of existing circumstances, getting you back on track or gifting you fresh eyes. And speaking of gifting, Danielle always has like wonderful gifts to bring, including the Happy Endings show, which is coming back, and as it always does every month, at the Makeout Room at 7:30, and this month it's on Valentine's Day. So, there's a couple things. Everybody really quickly has to hold up their hand.
Which one?
And say, either one. Right now I'm holding up my left. We're gonna give the lefties some appreciation today.
Yeah.
And we're gonna say, happy birthday, Danielle.
Happy birthday.
For your birthday present. I will go to Happy Endings on February 14th. And we're gonna present you with a little cake, so should we sing? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Danielle. Happy birthday to you. That Danielle says every time that Happy Endings show is about to start, and also when it's about to end, but mostly when it's about to start. And the quick thing that you're gonna find out after she reads as well is that it's the happiest you've ever been! Welcome Danielle to the stage!
Thank you so much. This is very nice. So I've got some bug poems for you, which is a bit of sort of the collection, but a bit of a misnomer today because I've got some sea critters, which felt relevant because the ocean is a renewing, cyclical body. So I got a very fresh little one about sea urchins, which like rip themselves open as they grow into their adult versions of their bodies. It's fascinating. So these are first-person accounts from critters. So this is urchin. The trouble was, I didn't know I was inside of me. The not knowing was a heavy thing, just a baby Pluteus. The adolescent form of the urchin. There will be some science words that don't seem like a baby Pluteus, suspended in the muck I'd managed, the mist-last BART trains, the potent IPAs, the string of indiscriminate okays. Just a hapless jelly in my own flotsam and jetsam, unwittingly gestating something like peace, something to grow into. In the turbulence, there was a new smell. Dinner was ready, and it was time to rest. Descending to the sea floor, I land with a quiet scattering of sand, and from inside, 2 hooks reach out from my adult and fold me inside out. At the center, a rigid rocket ship that will grow into something clean with spikes. Barring sickness or scavenger, I will float for centuries. The trouble was, people were always talking about healing like a time machine. That baby isn't me the hardy urchin. The baby was a bus. This one is a sand crab. I am one of the ones who disappear when a wave pulls back to reveal a quiet constellation of bubbling holes. We dig deep and we dig quickly because there's no alternative. My cousins, whom you call pillbugs, or more obscenely, roly-polies, are always finding themselves in the hands of children. Too trusting, they get plucked from the cool earth and prodded with sticky, inquisitive fingers. A few seconds of stillness and my cousins are seduced, unfurling, foolishly finding their footing, only to travel further, forever, across merciless, infinitely looping cupped palms. A strange, waterless landscape that would send the brightest of crustaceans into a most humiliating state of bewilderment. But they wanted more, you see, so they left the water. They promised they'd call. Before, all they talked about was how big the world was, how they couldn't let their lives pass them by like water through a crab's antenna. They quoted philosophers and listened to podcasts and then shared what they learned from those podcasts like it was knowledge gained from research they themselves had conducted. They hated the daily grind of the sea harvest. They hated working so hard to stay in the same place, to stay out of the beaks of the gulls. So they crawled beyond the swash zone and relearned breath. They found home in gardens. They found water under rocks. But my brother and I, we stayed at sea, the way it's supposed to be. From time to time, the children trick us to scoop us up, sand and all, and hurl the whole handful towards the horizon. You might make it back to the swash zone unscathed. You might not. My cousins don't understand how much we live from the sand, how much we see from the sand. They see our habits as holding patterns, our heads in the sand, but that's not quite right. My brothers and I face the expanse, antenna fanned open, ready for whatever comes. The cousins never learned on their podcasts that ocean sand is the most mature sand there is. That it is made from material from around the world, the shells of our ancestors, bits of the Sierras, a refined slurry of everything there has ever been. From the sea, I live among the mountains. I feed from the bounty of the Pacific, and I dance with time. This one's about a cricket. Female cricket, 30s. The stores have begun, it's seasonally inappropriate, it's very much a fall piece, but it's like about death and like imagining beyond that, so it felt appropriate. The stores have begun putting sweaters on their mannequins. The humans have begun putting sweaters on their dogs. There are more leaves layered on the ground, thin and brittle, and I make a refuge of them, an alarm system. Crunching cries, the approach of danger, shoes, dogs. I wait, I molt. The songs will stop when it gets cold, so I know my days to find love are numbered. The songs are for us to find them, but also for them to intimidate each other. I dream about what it will sound like, what sort of bark will pull me in and send others away. Will he scrape his forewing across that rigid vein with a sexy American bravado? Springsteen leaning against a door frame, a car door under the bleachers, his hands in his jean pockets. Don't worry about your dad, he says. Tell him the record company just gave you a big advance. Or will it be a plea of urgent poetics? Patti Smith's pained, it's me, a bare belly facing up and reaching out, too much to hold on to, this heart of mine, too much to offer up, please take me up, and I get to choose. What a sweltering delight it will be to take it all in, to know it's for me to decide what spermatophore to keep. If his song doesn't impress me, if he starts telling me things like, I'm just going through a lot right now, or I hear there's a lot of exciting things happening in the art scene down in LA, or I thought we were just having a good time. I'll get rid of it, I'll eat it, I'll I'll build up my strength for a love that pulses stronger, steadier, heavy with light. In college, my best grade I managed was on an essay for a music history class that I wrote about Bjork. It compared her version of It's Oh So Quiet to the Betty Hutton one from the 50s. The song describes a quiet, crept through, whispered around so as not to disturb one at rest, and then it happens to you as suddenly zapped with love. Chaos, ultimately. There are these explosive cries, zing, boom, projectiles of sound that will surely catch someone in the eye, and she lands on, so what's the use? But of course we don't believe her. I know that's what I'm built for. It really is a risk, though, not just what Bjork's talking about, but the songs themselves put the singers in danger, vulnerable to exposure, to infiltration. Imagine a deep, warm summer night. Instead of singing from all sides, it's silent. No sounds of successful unions, breath and bodies and victorious vibration. No juicy bachelors ready to build a family, but papery husks, quiet and crisp. I've heard stories, a sweet singer eaten from the inside by baby Takanins. Their mother fell in love with his song too, but she made him into a feast instead of a father. When I was a teenager, there was this fashion catalog that came in the mail. The clothes were too expensive. Mom put it in the recycling, but I took it out and I kept it in my drawer for years. There was this one page from what was presumably their fall campaign. A young couple in a cabin. A woman is perched on a kitchen counter. A man approaches the counter between her legs. They're probably wrapping their hands around mugs, wearing under-buttoned flannels, looking into each other's faces and exchanging warm, intimate laughter. I don't know what it was about the image that captured me. Maybe it was because she was sitting on the counter. That would have never been allowed. Love and chaos, smirking with bare legs, and it's cold outside. I look in the mirror and consider what love could do to me, transform me the way Bjork shapes herself. I will erupt into a mother, grow gills of candy pink and dewy skin like jelly foam. I will sprout veins, no, reshape my veins so that I might make music of my own. They say there's another song, one after I find him, after the negotiation, the transfer, the making love. A raucous, celebratory one. How unfair it is, isn't it, to be unable to join in? But I emerge from the leaves with my ears on my legs open. There is a chill, that is certain. If the songs have ended, mine end is near too. If the love in me it will not pearl and multiply, may it be released and repurposed. I'd like to be something that rattles, something that screams, or something that honks.
I'm never going to be able to look at crickets the same. Just not. It's like between that, cricket in Times Square, it's like, it's just yeah, I'm never going to look at them the same again. Thank you. Thank you. And I know, now I like want to go find videos of this happening with sea urchins, and probably, like, wince and kind of look away, but then like so into it and spend like 4 hours on YouTube and probably Instagram and maybe even TikTok, which they'll keep sending me notifications about sea urchins. Which will also probably play on my Hulu ads. But who knows? Let's give it up one more time. Thanks for sharing your birthday with us. It's a pretty fantastic image if you go to the Happy Endings Instagram, which is Happy Endings?
Happyendings.show.
Happyendings.show. If you go at happyendings.show, which, you're going to be there. We all took that oath. So, may not have mentioned that it was a blood oath. And if you don't show up, I'm not gonna say what happens if you don't show up. We have one more poet. Marc Zegans. Marc Zegans. Marc Zegans? The theme actually came out of a conversation with Marc about, I was like, oh, Lion Street, new book is out. It's about San Francisco. It's about renewal. It's about revitalization. So many things going on. You're gonna hear some things. I won't say too much more. It was like, oh, what would be a good theme? It was just like, what about revitalization or renewal? It was just like, yes, that's it. And so when asking Marc, what is renewal to you and why is it important? Marc said, renewal is central to my 3 most recent collections of poems. La Comedia, Soterrana? No, it said, no, it's not that. Soterre. So, wait. Oh, there's no accent on that. It's, okay, this is because it's the US keyboard. Renewal is reclaiming the creative undercurrent that gives life to culture. And the Snow Dead, also fantastic. I have that as well. The appearance of life in winter in Lion Street, the promise inherent in a city that fails to remember itself. Let's give it up.
What a crowd, and what 3 great poets. There's no way I can follow what we've heard tonight, but I'll try to share a few words with you. So, over the years, I started writing poems about San Francisco, in particular coming of age in this city. And when I was coming of age, which was a long time ago, things were very different than they are now. It was a more libertine place, it was a freer place. It was a dangerous place in many ways, a more violent place, but also kinder, friendlier, warmer, embracing. And there was room for artists and writers. There was room for young filmmakers. There was room for people in the city. And I was talking with some old punk rock friends of mine who sort of had started out at the San Francisco Art Institute and then drifted into being punk players. And they were talking about how 3 of them rented a 3-bedroom apartment in North Beach for $180 a month.
My God.
And that was common back then. And so I have spent many, many years thinking about how cities which force artists and creative folk out of their core, when those are the people who give the cities their lives, their reputations, their energy, how we can bring that back. And so this little book, Lion Street, was a series of poems that remember San Francisco as it was, but as a call for renewal and a call for change in the city so that we can gather crowds like this all over the place on almost every night of the week. I'm going to read 7 poems from Lion Street and then possibly a rave up at the end. These are small poems, they're intimate poems. As I've gone around the city reading over the last 2 months, I've taken different tracks through it. These are about intimacy and relationship in the context of a very, very different city. This first poem is called Lower Register. I'm going now to the low register in my cabinet of memories, digging through faded folders laden with silt, looking for a particular moment on a given night, days after Christmas more than 30 years ago, when she and I ran Ocean Beach Waterline at 3 a.m., her spiked heels resting on the crumbling concrete seawall, her debutante dress salt wet from the spray, her shoulder-length blonde hair gathering in strings, as if she was running back to the sea, not rising from it. I did not know all was in question as she stopped, panting, draping her foggy arms over my shoulders as she licked my neck, my hand caressing her sea-watered soft breast underneath her debutante dress. This one's called Unclasped. At Steep Ravine, I took you into surf, your fear breaking faster than the hard waves, spit and sparkle lips, teeth, lids, and brown hair bouncing as you jumped in the shore breaks, waves rising dancing round your thighs, foaming. I took your hand in the hollow between two waves and led you to deeper waters. You look back to shore, scanning for your boy, a thin line of love tethering you to shore. You would not go beyond the shore, the second break. The line a kite string too long would be cut if you ducked with me into the black swell. Your arm extended, holding me, fingers unclasping slowly, at last releasing, as I turned my young back to your kind face, diving into the cold, quiet beneath. This one is called If We Stay. I tossed my heart in the gutter down on pulp by suckers' liquors when the angel dust high dealer's baseball bat shattered my friend's arm like crushed peppermint candies. You know the red and white starburst in the clear cellophane wrappers they serve on restaurant hostess stands to cover steak and whiskey breath. He was so high, that skinny kid, he didn't know he had no arm until he tried to pull the door on the shotgun side. Said, I think he's going to kill me if we stay. So for a good long time, Kevin and I used to perform with San Francisco's Poetry Brothel, most often down at the Great Northern. And this poem was set after the last night just before the pandemic that we performed there. It's called San Francisco. Hard talk against an empty wall. Does it bounce off or is it absorbed? A canvas of silt moving sediment as paint, reductions of thick finding bottom color. Removing the mask, I shed all value to this room of kink. Can we begin something here, she wonders, speaking to me through her broken parts. There's more. Van Ness, concrete and jumble, a broken spine that once led to the head of this remaindered city, the city that remaindered its soul. Bob's Donuts on pulp, 3 a.m., limited, cheap, grease and sugar and green light, as hard, and offers a kindness to the hungry, broken soul who read his heart out to an empty room and perhaps saved one before taking whore's wages, then exiting the now empty house of pleasure, mask in a bag, unloved, utterly alone. We heard a couple of love poems to North Beach. This is set in North Beach back in the late 70s, and very different world back then. It's called Less Than Burlesque. When I was in high school, we'd go down to the Condor, where Carol Doda's electric nipples flashed high above the corner at Broadway in Columbus, crossroads of Old North Beach. I saw her once descend from the ceiling atop a chipped white baby grand piano and spin her tassels, crazy propellers, in opposite directions while beat girls pumped sailors and conventioneers for drinks. We knew those girls who would lounge arms across their bare shoulders drinking Cuba Libras until clusters of corpulent marks would stumble into the joint and the girls would slip away, teetering on loose sight. We counted ourselves lucky bumming drinks from strippers in cum-stained San Francisco, drag queens strutting above Enrico's, trainee whores dishing dirt at Clown Alley. And all this seemed innocent in the year before Reagan and the coming of AIDS. Carnival life on the Barbary shore, a perfect faith that this was forever. As we ambled across Broadway down Columbus, turned into Specs, the Adler Museum and Ocularium, drank Anchor Steam, climbed the secret stair to Apple and Eve, and saw the dancing girl with welts on her thighs, and realized all this was not just play. So this one's a bit of a rave up, and then I'll read a poem of Renewal. This is called Punk Poets Too Fucked to Drink. And it said it's the seminal punk club in San Francisco, long gone now, called the Mabuhay Gardens. And it opens with me standing at the bar at a Dead Kennedy show talking to Ripper, who was the bass player from the band Crime, and it ends with a bit of Rortian neo-pragmatic philosophy dressed up as the Clown Prince. It goes like this. At round end of No Corner Bar, me and Ripper backs to stage tilt bottom shelf in plastic Polynesia. Exhale and converse behind a shirtless god and maggot riddle. Jello admonishes black and stinking pogo crowd to be Republican, not thinking that 1 year hence kill the poor will find happy embrace in red states more scared of welfare than war, and tuck sunny Ron in Washington, where healthy school lunch is 6 French fries and ketchup and rotting like a vegetable. I remember the cop car burning that damn white night, but more I remember the sidewalk outside Twin Peaks, corner of Market, home to freaks, long before San Francisco urban chic. And E&G knew to me pushing and shoving, starting a riot. That's the story never told about that San Francisco, but I saw the news crew's spiking rage as spilt milk, mayor of Castro, and decentered Moscone were shoved aside, TV slap at gay pride, and Twinkie excuse, kernel of conservative human rights now running 30 years in low-tax CA, waiting for the day when limited government would metastasize. Short ices become short lines, frictionless. The times demand Williams, not Whitman. Pressure, constant, hard pledge, words short, next words unvalid, no space for air. Fuck you. The times demand Williams, not Whitman. Shall we give way, capitulate, or do it early? The times demand Williams, not Whitman, spondy on spondy, consonant diamonds, bent light, facet play, a flash. The times demand Williams, not Whitman. Is it our work now to surrender long lines, to howl no more, clicking faster, clicking faster, clicking faster, clicking faster, till letters are too much information to see, till we pixel click our way in a vaster, faster space of small screens, isolated, but accessible? Is it our work now to surrender long lines, to turn the dirt on Alan's grave, to give less and less and less and sand more and more and more? Is it time to drop the analog growl of John Lee singing boom, 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 howl, 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 howl? A different kind of howl, a wolf moaning at midnight. Is it time to gape the mouth, to muzzle the grit, to join the raft of bits? Is it time? Is it time? Is it time? Is this any more a question? Can time demand? Can there be a moment on a virtual raft? A moment, not moments, not any moment. A moment time justified. No, howls the Clown Prince, in a world without foundation, not even time, not even these times, not even this moment can announce anything. The times don't give us an historical curl. We cannot surf anymore to shore on the times. This time, it is on us. The times demand nothing, but what will we demand of ourselves? This is one short poem. It's the final poem in Lion Street, and my friend Larry Beckett, who was one of the great living American poets, completed a 47-year project called The American Cycle, which is a 750-page book that came out at the end of last year. And Larry, in reading this, said that the end of this poem, the last 4 words, capture what is the myth of California, which is a land we arrive because the possibility of renewal is always there. It's called Starting. I ride the sea on purple curl as night draws near. Arms back, head thrust, leading with my jaw. Water drops and rises as we progress, wave and I, till it scatters on sand in turbulent wash. I roll in the froth, stand, shaking water from my head like a dog. Turn my back on darkening beach and scrubby hills, looking out to the sun-puddled sea, slipping between my toes, inviting. I run and plunge, duck diving under the swells, a locomotive pumping. Each time I come up, the light has drifted further, calling, meet me. I give over to the tide, letting it carry me into the white, marveling at how fine a line the sun paints on wrinkled chalk. In the moment, before she slips beneath her covers. I survey the distant black, taste the salt, and start to swim. Thank you.
Let's give it up one more time for all of our readers. Those are all 4 of our readers for tonight. Before you head out though, we have a quick announcement, and that announcement is that our next living room show, which happens every 4th Friday, in case you're like wanting to put it into your calendar for the whole year, 4th Friday. Next one is going to be themed on excellence on February 24th. And we have some excellent poets coming too. We've got Dante Clark, Maureen Kerr, Mia McAllister, and Darius Simpson, all coming to the living room next month. So please come back, join us. But before we go, I really wanted to talk quickly about how I was kind of surprised, but also I shouldn't have actually been surprised, that almost every poet that came up here also read like some sort of adage to a love poem in some way, shape, or form. Marc wrote about intimacy and relationships and loving old San Francisco, and Danielle wrote about wanting to love in honks, which I think is beautiful. Gabby had a poem that literally just went, I love, I love, I love, and it was so beautiful. And KR, very first poet, wrote about loving your inner child and what that could bring, and loving your own femininity and what that could bring. And I think a lot about love as being like an internal or an external thing, and having to choose between the two all the time. But the wonderful thing about Renewal is that it brings open so much possibility. And who's to say you can't do both? Who's to say you can't reflect internally and also blossom externally? Isn't that the whole idea of the sea urchin kind of coming out of its shell in some ways? And to kind of end on a still poetic note, I literally only have one poem by another poet memorized. I know that's really embarrassing for somebody who studies poetry, but like only one poem. And it's this poem called Love Poem by Graham Faust. And it goes like this. What would pick through our shadows would tear them too, if we were to give it time enough and reason. We will, it will, the rest won't be history. How would you like to go for a walk with me? Take a walk this month, and we'll see you in February.